if you're starting a business, and this is where you have to not sell out of your own wallet, and that's the nature of the offers book, is start with the most absurdly valuable thing you possibly can. So whatever price you want to charge, add 1 or 2 zeros to it.
I think all of it comes down to when you change yourself, you will change the world because you'll change how you see it.
If I had only had a $46 million exit, I don't know if I would attract the number of entrepreneurs that we do now. Mm-hmm. But now that we do 250 plus, School's a $1 billion plus company, it's like I have credibility that the YouTube, the content, right, is not like I still do business. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We have chains of brick and mortar that we're involved in. I just don't talk about it because it's not relevant for most people. So I think commoditized tips and tricks, when you have again, like proof is in the pudding. Reality is the moat. It's basically the opposite of that. So if you are posing, if you are pretending, if you have no proof that you are good at this thing, and again, this is on the education side, then there's I call it the big Vegas wispy. Why should I listen to you? Right? Why should I listen to you? And if you can't answer that question for, I'll say, a prospect, prospective customer, within the first couple of seconds, they'll just listen to somebody else. Because the reason that credibility matters so much is that it's actually lower effort to consume information from somebody who's an authority. And so if I'm listening to somebody who doesn't have proof and I'm listening to investing advice, I have to really think is this true? Does this make sense? If I'm listening to Warren Buffett, I don't have to think that. I'm like, I'm sure he's right. Now, when someone's like, how do I get into this? You do what no one else can do. Well, if you are getting in, then document the proof of effort. So you can have proof of outcome, just like what we do, right? What you do. But then when you're starting, there's proof of effort. Jimmy's first viral video is him counting to 1 million. It's proof of effort. When you have nothing else, you have time, you have work. If you want to say, hey, I want to get into sales stuff, it's like record your entire day of you selling. And then when you overcome something that's really good, that's real life with real stakes, clip the moment, right? And show yourself. It's like, I took 22 calls today. Let me tell you the best moment. I did a 12-hour day. In 3 minutes, I'll give you the best moments. It's like people want a deal. And so I think about that as a compression of time. And the reason that people listen to the people who are further ahead, who've done all these things, is because we can compress time. We say, hey, you could try and figure this out on your own. But if I can compress 14 years of business advice into 37 minutes, that's a good deal. Given X, Y, and Z, what do you think about the future? And he said, I don't really think that much about what's going to change. He said, I spend a lot more time trying to think what's not going to change. And then we bet really heavily on those things. We believe that customers will prefer cheaper prices 10 years from now, just as much as they do now. We believe that customers will prefer more selection to less selection 10 years from now, as much as they do now. We believe that if customers can get something in 2 hours, they will value that more than if it takes them 2 days. We believe in that and we can bet in that. And so he just thinks about these elements. And if we're thinking about the value equation, how easy did they make buying? It's one click. How fast does it come? It's almost immediate. You have a history of buying from them. And this is also where the reviews come in. How likely is it? Well, if it's a 5-star with 5,000 reviews, it's pretty high. If it's got a 1.5 and it's got 2 reviews, I'm probably not going to buy it, even if it's the same product, just because of our perception of it, right? And then the outcome is what I'm willing to do for the price, right? I think about this time delay component because it's one thing that kind of loops over the whole conversation at this point is that people will abstract the value of a positive future outcome to 0 if it is long enough in the future, even if it's guaranteed. You can guarantee that you will be rich if you invest, $100 a week or $200 a week, whatever, into an index fund. Right? Pretty much. And if you do that for 30, 40 years, you will be fine. Because it's 30 or 40 years and because the latte is today, the discount basically takes it to 0. There's 2 lessons that I think that are really, really hard to learn. I think Williamson talks about this with unlearnable or unteachable lessons, things like that. Lessons that are difficult to observe unless you go through them. One of the guys who worked for me, he said, I consumed your content for, years. He said, but seeing you at the office at 4 a.m. every day, when you don't need to do this at all, the consistency of it, he's like, I don't see that in the content. I mean, I see the output of that. And one of the things with consistency is that you need to be consistent in order to witness consistency. You can't even observe, even if I did a time lapse that takes 10 seconds of me doing it, you still don't perceive it. So there's the consistency piece. And I think the other one with regards to the long-term component is patience. Also, to be fair, focus, because Sharon, my partner, says this. He says, people only see the choices you made, not the options you had. And so you can't really witness focus. You just see winning. And so to the same degree with patience, again, you only see the win. Like if you look at a marathon, people are there at the beginning, they're there at the end. No one's here in the middle because it's the only fun part. The content of a marathon would be the intro and the exit. Like you'd literally make it into a clip that's 30 seconds and be like, hurrah, yay. And then maybe a couple mile markers. And it's like, wait, we compressed this. What a bargain. Great return on time. You can't really witness patience unless you've literally followed it from the beginning, which of course you'll have your OG people who are with you in the beginning of Diary of a CEO, and they've seen the patience start to play out. But it's one of the things that like one of the ultimate gifts that I would hope, and the equal opposite of this is Steve Wynn, I think, talked about how the best thing in the world is that someone comes their first time to one of his casinos, bets big and wins. It's the best thing ever. The worst thing that can happen is that the first time they come, they lose their money because then they never gamble again. And so it's like he wants that big reinforcing event up front because then you can become a gambling addict, right? Mm-hmm. And so to the same degree, my hope for like my kid in the future or anyone who's trying to start out is that they have something that happens in their life where they're rewarded for delaying the outcome and having a big jackpot as a result of the consistent effort where they delayed the reward. Because as soon as you do learn that lesson, you see how big the big can be when you wait. There are mistakes of picking the wrong path, but I think there are more mistakes of abandoning the right path. So there's a handful of, I think, entrepreneur questions that are eternally unanswerable, which is when do you push and when do you pivot? Like how much risk do I take on? Like should I consume or invest? Well, you don't know when you die.
True.
Right. And so with the push and pivot one, the best answer that I have to this, because I get this one a lot, like, hey, it's really hard. Should I pivot the business, change it, or should I try and like push through? My actual answer is if you had a fundamental assumption that you based the business on that has been proven untrue from your business activities, I think it makes sense to pivot. If none of your original theses are incorrect, it's just not happening as fast as you want or as easily as you want, then you push. People will not do things. I see beginning entrepreneurs say like, well, that's not scalable. And I'm like, you're broke.
Yeah.
You're broke. It's okay. You can not be scalable. You can just make money. That's okay. But it also assumes that your future self with more skills and more resources won't have the ability to figure out how to scale it.
Yeah.
And most things are like, we're building cities in the middle of the fucking ocean. If you're starting a business, and this is where you have to not sell out of your own wallet, and that's the nature of the offers book, is start with the most absurdly valuable thing you possibly can. So whatever price you want to charge, add 1 or 2 zeros to it. Okay. And it's like, that's crazy. I agree. Crazy. What would you have to do in order for that to be worth it? And then you list out all the things you do. Well, if I was going to get somebody in shape, I'd probably go to their house. I would help them grocery shop. I would drive them to the gym and back from the gym to make sure that they actually did it. For $100,000, is it worth it? And they're like, well, it's not scalable. It's like, well, you only need 5. And I think when you're starting out, there's huge value in having unscalable services because one, you'll get better customers because you're going to be charging much more for something that's a little bit more premium. And the value of talking to people richer than you will do more for you than what you were doing for them. So like they will shift your worldview, which is why like a lot of people like caddies who talk to all these millionaires when they're playing golf. It's like they learn so much from the people. Like, how do you make your money? Like they learn so much worldview of, oh, I shouldn't be thinking this way. I should be thinking like this. So one is you get that. The second is that you are able to practice the unscalable thing.
Yeah.
And then you can figure out how do I take the scarce value? Okay, this is not scalable. Fine. Let's just say it's not scalable. Okay. Are there elements of this that are scalable that I now know because I've done it rather than because I thought about it? Because your thought experiments, and I'd say for myself too, are pretty terrible. Like our ability to predict the future is pretty god awful. And so we think we know what it's going to be like, and we usually have no idea. And so it's like, go do it. You'll collect way richer data that no one else has done because it was unscalable. And then you can actually create something that's more scalable that is unique because you actually went through it. And this is getting a little bit more business hatty, but from a branding perspective, saying, hey, I have a handful of clients that pay me $2,000 a month to do this premium thing. For those of you who can't afford that, I now have this thing you've already anchored high. They see you as the person on the hill because you deal with these unscalable, my private clients. And then you can have, like, you look at the Tesla model of start with the Roadster, and then you have the Model S, and then you work your way down to the masses. And so I'm a big believer in price as high as you can, make the very premium thing first, let that be high cash flow, high margin, low scalability, so that you can then have the money to start working your way down to more people.
So I think a lot of us have the battle of the other self that we're the lesser version of ourselves that we're trying to kill every single day. And so a lot of times we have this desire to point the blame finger externally, but wherever you point the finger of blame, power follows. And so whoever I blame for the life I have is the person who I give all the power over my existence, over my circumstances. And so it hurts, but if you turn the finger inwards and you start saying, I don't like my life. The person that I need to punish or get back at is the real person who got me here, which is me. And so you may be right that other people did certain things or you got dealt a bad hand. It also doesn't matter, because the only thing that you can't control is obviously the actions that you take. And the only person who's in control of that is you. And so the revenge porn is thinking about what the version of you who got you here did, and then acting in the exact opposite of that as many times as you possibly can. And the pain that you feel by rejecting the thing that you used to do that got you into this bad circumstance, that's the real revenge. Do we accept the world and change ourselves? Or do we change the world and accept ourselves? And so I think all of it comes down to, when you change yourself, you will change the world, because you'll change how you see it. I would say that they're not accepting themselves in saying that they accept themselves. So if I say, is there a version of yourself that's better than you are right now? And most people hopefully would say yes. It's like, great, accept that person. And I think that, to me, when we talk about the authenticity, accepting yourself is accepting the ideal that we can live up to. And that is what we accept, not the shitty version of that we are today. And I think that marries both sides of the argument. But the people who win love the climb, and the real mountain has no peak. And so the view is always present the whole way up the climb. I think a lot of the discontent comes from the judgment people have about what they should or should not do along the way. And so they take my description as prescription for what they should do. So I describe my life, and then people think I'm prescribing what they should do. And it couldn't be further from the truth. If you want to take a break at every 2 steps and take in the view, do it. I mean, in 4 generations, no one will remember your name. And so enjoy the view if you feel like it. I just happen to enjoy how much I can see that I can do. That's what I enjoy. And I feel like I am most present when I work. And so I'm not going to go into work-life balance, whatever, because we already know where that conversation goes. But people have a harder time accepting that someone can just work all the time and truly love it. And I define that by, there's nothing else I would rather do at any time. And so for me, I feel like I exercise absolute freedom in my life. And freedom is reinforcing for all species: dogs, cows, fish, humans. Freedom is one of the most positively reinforcing thing that people have, that everyone wants freedom. But once you say f you, you have to do something, because you can't just stand there and saying f you over and over again for hours for the rest of your life. You start to do something, and that thing that you choose to do after you say f you is what you want to do. I think a lot of the confusion around the people who are wanting to work harder than they are, or don't like that I work hard or that you work hard, think that they take this statement as a judgment or a criticism on how they live their life. And it's because on the other side of that free line, you're like, okay, I'm now free. I have a blank slate. If I do something or you do something that they deem painful for them now, or something that they don't enjoy, they then say, you are suffering and that is bad. And both of those things I reject wholeheartedly. First, you don't know that I'm suffering because you have no idea what's going on inside of me. And also, what does your judgment mean at all to me? Potential energy versus reality for people on their way up. And so there's this huge time delay between when we start behaving in a way that a winner behaves and when we start winning. And the problem is that the bigger the mountain you're trying to climb, the bigger the W you're trying to get, typically the more delayed it is when you start behaving like a winner and when you start being a winner.